Welcome to Tales by Felix, where every story unlocks a new world. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. Let's begin. The first light of dawn poured into the bridal suite like gold dust, spilling over lace curtains and settling gently on the satin folds of the wedding gown. The room was alive with quiet excitement, the kind of hush that only comes before something monumental. Amara stood before the full-length mirror, fingertips grazing the soft curls that her hairstylist had spent the last hour perfecting. Her best friend, Chioma, poked her head in, grinning ear to ear. "Chioma, if you keep staring at yourself like that, you'll convince yourself you're not real." Amara, smiling shyly, "I just can't believe it's today." Outside, the garden was already being transformed into a dreamscape. White roses in glass vases, strings of fairy lights weaving through the branches, a satin aisle leading to a floral arch. This was it. This was the day she would finally marry Daniel, the man who had loved her when she had nothing, the man who once told her, "I'd marry you in a t-shirt if that's all you had." Amara's laughter mingled with a gentle rustle of bridesmaids flitting about. Her heart felt like it was wrapped in ribbons, warm, fluttering, and a little nervous. And then, from the doorway, came the slow, deliberate click of heels. Mrs. Igioma, Daniel's mother, the woman whose approval Amara had chased, and failed to catch, for 3 years. She entered the suite with the grace of a queen and the gaze of a hawk. Dressed in an intricately beaded gold wrapper, she was a vision of elegance and authority. Her eyes scanned the room like she was inspecting a battlefield, then landed on Amara's dress. Mrs. Igioma, It was the kind of that could flatten confidence. Amara, forcing a smile, "Good morning, Ma." Mrs. Igioma, "Morning." She took a step closer, eyes narrowing at the gown. "So, this is the dress." Amara, proudly, "Yes. Custom made. Every detail means something to me." "The lace was." Mrs. Igioma, interrupting, "A bit simple, don't you think? For a family like ours." The word stung, but Amara kept her smile. Chioma, standing behind her, rolled her eyes. "Chioma, I think it's perfect. It's elegant, not loud." Mrs. Igioma, arching an eyebrow, "Elegance is fine, my dear, but sometimes people confuse elegance with plainness." The tension was a thin wire stretched across the room. Amara let out a polite laugh, but inside, she felt a familiar ache, the ache of being measured and found lacking. Mrs. Igioma lingered for a moment longer, then turned away with the kind of smile that didn't reach her eyes. While her bridesmaids buzzed around her, Amara's mind drifted to the first time she met Mrs. Igioma. Daniel had brought her to a Sunday lunch, eager to introduce her. She had worn a modest Ankara dress, carried a homemade cake, and smiled through her nerves. The reception had been chilly. Mrs. Igioma that day, "So, Amara, what do your parents do?" Amara, "My mother passed when I was a child. My father is." Mrs. Igioma, "Oh, I see." She had sipped her wine, not asking further. From that day on, Amara knew she was not the match Daniel's mother had imagined. Mrs. Igioma had other candidates, polished women from influential families. Women who knew the right forks to use and had never taken a bus in their life. Daniel always brushed it off. "Daniel, she'll come around. She just needs time." But time had only deepened the gulf. In the months leading to the wedding, Mrs. Igioma had been surprisingly quiet. Amara thought, hoped, that perhaps the war was over. But the look in her future mother-in-law's eyes this morning told a different story. "Okay, Amara, close your eyes." Chioma squealed. The bridesmaids had been guarding the gown like treasure for days. Now, with ceremony only hours away, it was time for the grand reveal. Amara turned, eyes shut, hands trembling slightly. When she opened them, her breath caught. The gown was breathtaking, a fitted bodice of ivory lace, delicate pearl embroidery cascading into a flowing skirt of chiffon layers. At the waist, a hand-sewn rose detail, a nod to her late mother, who had always said roses meant love that survived storms. "Chioma, well? Do we need an ambulance for Daniel when he sees you?" Amara, laughing through tears, "It's perfect. Just perfect." The room filled with cheers and camera clicks. Everyone wanted a photo with the gown. Everyone except Mrs. Igioma, who stood in the corner, lips pressed thin. Mrs. Igioma, I suppose it will do. Amara swallowed her irritation. Today was not the day for battles. Or so she thought. The suite gradually emptied as the bridesmaids went to check on decorations. Amara remained, staring at her gown, imagining Daniel's face when he saw her. She didn't hear Mrs. Igioma approach until the woman's reflection appeared in the mirror. Mrs. Igioma, softly, "You look happy." Amara, "I am. Thank you for coming in earlier, Ma." Mrs. Igioma, stepping closer, lowering her voice, "Enjoy it while it lasts." Amara froze. Amara, what? Mrs. Igioma, leaning in, her perfume sharp in the air, "You don't deserve my son. I've been patient, but today, you'll see. You'll regret ever thinking you could take my place in his life." Tra stared at the door, her heart pounding. A chill ran through her despite the warm morning. She had no idea what Mrs. Igioma was planning, but she knew, with bone-deep certainty, that something was coming. Something that could shatter everything. The suite hummed with excitement again as the bridesmaids returned, arms full of gift boxes and last-minute accessories. Amara tried to shake off the icy residue of Mrs. Igioma's words. She wouldn't let her ruin this day. Chioma grabbed her hand. "Chioma, come on, let's get you in the dress." Amara turned toward the mannequin, and stopped dead. It was gone. The satin skirt, the lace bodice, the rose detail, all gone. The wooden stand stood bare in the middle of the room like a skeleton without flesh. Amara, voice cracking, "Where's my dress?" Bridesmaid 1, "What do you mean? I left it here 10 minutes ago." Chioma, searching frantically, "Maybe someone moved it to keep it safe?" They tore through the suite, checking closets, boxes, even under tables. The dress had vanished. 15 minutes later, a scream echoed from the garden. One of the decorators came rushing in, pale and shaking. "Decorator, you need to come." They led Amara outside to a patch of grass near the service entrance. And there it was, or what was left of it. The bodice was shredded, jagged tears running through the lace like angry claws. The skirt was drenched in dark red, not paint, not wine, but enough to stain it beyond salvation. The hand-sewn rose detail was ripped clean off. Amara's knees buckled. "Amara, no, 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 no." Chioma knelt beside her, wrapping her arms around her. "Chioma, we'll fix this. We'll find another." Amara, whispering, "She did this." Chioma looked into her eyes and didn't ask who she was. She already knew. Bridesmaid 2, "I saw her." Amara, "Who?" Bridesmaid 2, "Your mother-in-law. She was walking toward the garden earlier. She had a bottle of wine in her hand." The group exchanged looks. The truth was ugly, but it was staring them in the face. Chioma, "Amara, don't do anything now. The wedding is in less than 3 hours. We don't want a scene." Amara, "A scene? She destroyed my wedding dress. This is a scene." Her voice cracked, raw with rage and betrayal. She wanted to march straight to Mrs. Igioma and demand answers, but part of her dreaded the confirmation. When Daniel walked in, his eyes scanned the room, then froze on the ruined gown. His face drained of color. "Daniel, what happened?" Amara explained in clipped, trembling sentences. The moment she mentioned his mother, his jaw tightened. "Daniel, no. She wouldn't. Amara, she told me I'd regret marrying you. She warned me this morning. And now my dress is destroyed. Tell me that's a coincidence." Daniel, running a hand over his face, I'll handle it." Without another word, he left. His shoulders were tense, his steps quick. Amara didn't know whether he was going to confront his mother or hide from the truth. Chioma pulled Amara aside. "Chioma, we have options. There's a boutique 20 minutes away. We can get you another dress. It won't be the same, but at least you'll walk down the aisle." Amara hesitated. The idea of another gown felt wrong, like replacing a piece of her heart with something off the rack. But the clock was ticking. Amara, "Okay, let's go." Just as they were about to leave, Mrs. Igioma appeared in the doorway. Her face was calm. Too calm. Mrs. Igioma, Going somewhere, dear? The air in the room seemed to shrink. Chioma stepped forward like a guard dog, but Amara lifted her chin. Amara, we're getting a new dress. Mrs. Igioma, smiling faintly, why rush? The wedding isn't worth it anymore. The words were like a dagger, slow, deliberate, meant to pierce deep. And in that moment, Amara realized, this wasn't just sabotage. This was war. The room was thick with tension, the kind that prickles the back of your neck and makes the air feel heavy. Amara took a slow step toward Mrs. Igioma, her voice steady but cold. Amara, you destroyed my dress, didn't you? Mrs. Igioma, tilting her head, is that what you think? Amara, I know it. Mrs. Igioma's eyes didn't waver. She simply crossed her arms, a faint smirk tugging at her lips. Mrs. Igioma, and if I did, what would you do about it? The bluntness hit like a slap. Chioma gasped, fists clenching at her sides. Chioma, you're unbelievable. This is your son's wedding. Mrs. Igioma, cutting in, exactly. My son. My only son. And I will not stand by while he ruins his life. Mrs. Igioma stepped closer, her voice dropping low. Mrs. Igioma, do you think I don't know who you are, Amara? A girl from nothing. No pedigree, no family name, no connections. You're a liability. And Daniel deserves better. Amara's chest tightened. Amara, better? Better than someone who loves him. Who stood by him when no one else did. Mrs. Igioma, love is not enough in marriage. Power, status, influence, those are what matter. And you have none. The words weren't just cruel, they were a confession. Amara realized then that this wasn't about the dress. This was about erasing her completely. Amara, you think tearing my gown will make me walk away? Mrs. Igioma, smiling, I think it will remind you you're not welcome here. Chioma checked her phone and cursed under her breath. Chioma, Amara, it's 12:30. Guests will start arriving in 30 minutes. If we don't leave now. Amara's mind raced. The image of Daniel waiting at the altar battled with the vision of walking toward him in a gown that wasn't hers. Every second ticked louder in her head. Mrs. Igioma watched her like a predator. Mrs. Igioma, you could end this now. Call it off. Save yourself the humiliation of walking into a family that doesn't want you. Amara inhaled slowly, refusing to give her the satisfaction of seeing her break. Amara, no. I'm not giving you that victory. Before they could leave for the boutique, Chioma grabbed Amara's shoulders. Chioma, forget the store. Take my dress. Amara blinked. Amara, your wedding dress? Chioma, yes. I still have it in my car from when I moved. It's beautiful, and it's yours if you want it. Tears blurred Amara's vision. Amara, Chioma, that's... Chioma, no arguments. We don't have time. Let's get you ready. The bridesmaids worked like a pit crew, unzipping garment bags, adjusting hems, pinning lace. The dress fit imperfectly, but it was still stunning, a satin A-line with delicate beadwork and a sweetheart neckline. Bridesmaid 1, you look like a queen. Amara, smiling faintly, then let's go claim my throne. The ceremony was minutes away. Guests were seated, soft music playing. Amara took a deep breath and began walking toward the garden entrance. But before she could step onto the aisle, Mrs. Igioma appeared in front of her like a storm cloud. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Igioma, loud enough for everyone to hear, this wedding should not happen. My son is making the biggest mistake of his life. Murmurs erupted. Cameras came out. Amara stood frozen, her fingers tightening around her bouquet. Then Daniel appeared at the end of the aisle, his eyes locking on his mother. The air was electric. Everyone knew something was about to explode. Daniel strode forward, his expression unreadable. The guests held their breath. Daniel, Mother, step aside. Mrs. Igioma, loudly, no. I will not let you throw your life away on. Daniel held up a hand, his voice suddenly firm enough to cut through the murmurs. Daniel, enough. His gaze swept over the crowd before returning to his mother. Daniel, Do you know who stood by me when I lost my job? Who sold her jewelry so I could start my business? Who believed in me when no one else did? Mrs. Igioma, coldly, Daniel. Daniel, Amara. And if you think I'll let anyone, even you, humiliate her, you're wrong. A ripple of gasps moved through the guests. Mrs. Igioma's lips trembled with a mixture of anger and disbelief. Amara's heart pounded as Daniel extended his hand to her. For a split second, she hesitated, afraid of another sabotage, another scene. But his steady gaze told her she was safe. She placed her hand in his, and together, they walked past Mrs. Igioma. The guests erupted in applause. Cameras flashed like lightning. Chioma caught her eye from the side, mouthing, "You won." Amara smiled, a small, victorious smile, but deep inside, she knew the battle with Mrs. Igioma was far from over. Standing under the floral arch, Daniel took Amara's hands. His voice shook, but not from nerves, from the weight of his words. "Daniel, today, I vow to love you, to fight for you, to protect you from every storm, even the ones that come from inside this family." The crowd murmured in approval. Amara's eyes stung with tears. "Amara, and I vow to stand by you, no matter who tries to pull us apart. We are not just a couple, we are a team." As they exchanged rings, Mrs. Igioma turned sharply and walked out, her gold wrapper swaying like the tail of an angry queen. At the reception, an older man approached Amara, Daniel's uncle, Chief Obiora. He leaned in, voice low but urgent. "Chief Obiora, you should know, your mother-in-law's fight isn't about you personally. She's afraid. Daniel's inheritance is tied to her control. If he marries you, the legal power shifts. She loses her grip." Amara felt her stomach twist. So it had never been about family reputation, it was about money and control. She glanced across the hall, seeing Mrs. Igioma in a corner, stiff-backed, watching her like a hawk. Months later, Amara launched a charity called the Resilient Bride Foundation, offering support to women whose weddings had been sabotaged or disrupted by family pressure. The story of her ruined dress had gone viral. The photo of her in Chioma's gown, hand in hand with Daniel, became a symbol of defiance and love. On their anniversary, Daniel surprised her with a gift. When she opened it, her breath caught. It was her original wedding dress, perfectly restored. "Daniel, found the tailor who made it. Thought you should have it, as proof that nothing, and no one, can destroy what we have." Amara hugged him, tears soaking his shirt. Outside their window, the city lights glittered, as if the universe itself was toasting their victory. And somewhere, in a quiet house across town, Mrs. Igioma sat in the dark, staring at a photo of the newlyweds, and realizing that no matter how much she fought, she had lost. The end.